The name Farrah Fawcett is once again well recognized in 2025. Her sculptures were recently auctioned off for $500,000. Young celebs are imitating her famous hairstyle. The first thing that came into the room was the hair song. Similar to hair salons, which claim a 40% increase in music requests for the Farrah flip, people aren't talking about it for that reason. There are new details emerging regarding her last years. The reality of Hollywood's treatment of her is becoming public. You'll be shocked at what they did to her behind the scenes. She was more than a lovely face. She was engaged in wars that no one knew about. Farrah Fawcett was born in Corpus Christi, Texas, on February 2, 1947, as Mary Farrah Lenny Fawcett. She grew up in a modest, traditional environment as the younger of two girls. Pauline Alice, music, her mother, was Choctaw and stayed at home. Martin Fawcett, her father, was a Kenyan who was employed as an oil rig contractor. The family had to learn to live simply because money was never easy to come by. Farrah attended St. Patrick's Roman Catholic Church School, and everything was overseen by that, music, rigorous Catholic air. She developed a regimen as a result. It instilled rules upon her. Later, Diane, her older sister, adopted the name Donna. They were just two children in those early years, though, and they shared the same familial weight in the same small streets. Farrah had a spark that didn't wait for approval even as a small child. She began to win local art competitions at the age of 5. Music, like an older person who has already discovered a secret door, she was sculpting and drawing. She couldn't shake the creative pull. Additionally, it combined with something else as she developed. She was more than just a hand artist when she arrived at W.B. Ray High School in Corpus Christi. Additionally, she was the girl who everyone saw as soon as she entered. She was chosen most attractive in music for all 4 years. Not a single one, not 2, not 4. It was uncommon and quietly shaped her confidence. Her discipline was also evident to her music teachers. After the Stardom, when people look back and say they always knew, she had that unwavering focus. Thus, in 1965, she was awarded a scholarship to the University of Texas at Austin for beauty. She came with microbiology in mind. That was the paper plan. She tried to fit in on campus, joined the Delta 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 sorority, and resided at Mayfair House on Pearl Street. However, life does not always go as planned. Her picture kept drawing attention. One of the top 10 most attractive co-eds was her, and a Hollywood publicist, music, noticed. It resembled a flip of a switch. She made a decision at the age of 18 that startled her family. She left school in 1967 to pursue acting in Los Angeles, where she felt more hopeful than safe. There was no strong familial support for her. She simply followed the powerful pull inside of her. She was not warmly received in Los Angeles. It put her to the test. Again and again, casting rooms said no. She took what she could because work was scarce. She turned into a shampoo girl. She advertised in print. In her quest for visibility, she led a modest and cautious life. Then, in 1969, she took a daring action that quickly divided many. In a naked photo shoot, she posed, music, for Esquire. It struck like a wave of shock. It was deemed brave by some. Others referred to it as career suicide. Music, the criticism was so intense that she thought she might have wrecked her shot before it had even begun. Nevertheless, she was impossible to ignore due to the attention, and closed doors started to open. At about the same time, her hair started to play a role in her narrative. Like the surf waves she adored as a child in Texas, she gravitated toward a feathery style in the early 1970s. At first, casting folks rolled their eyes. The world ignored their doubts, but they thought she was too clean, too American, and too simple to categorize. It turned into a wave of music. Millions of posters and periodicals were sold. Her hair also became a decade-specific icon. Music, what they referred to as a problem, turned out to be what made her famous. Despite all of that brilliance, Farrah had a shy heart. It touched her. Despite her growing renown, her parents still wanted her to return home and to stop pursuing her weird and dangerous Hollywood aspirations. She even attempted to take a little break in 1968. In the hopes of discovering new opportunities, she traveled to Japan to model. Rather, it caused her cultural shock and loneliness. She learned how difficult it can be to be famous when you're far from home. She returned with clarity. She would do this the way she wanted to if she were going to. It quickly accelerated back in Los Angeles. Within 2 weeks in the summer of 1968, she signed a contract with a big modeling agency. She had already made appearances in more than 100 TV ads before the year's conclusion. One by one, Max Factor and Noxima. She began to be referred to as the girl next door. Even so, she had a boundary that she would never pass. The Playboy called. There were other, high-value proposals as well. All of them she turned down. Because nude photo sessions were a rapid route to popularity at the time, agencies put a lot of pressure on her. She refused to change her mind. In the near term, it cost her gigs, but it also made her stand out as a musician who refused to let the industry define who she was. Love is a Funny Thing, a French comedy, was her debut motion picture appearance in 1969. It was filmed in the United States, music, including parts shot in Old Tucson, Arizona, and directed by Claude Luch. The movie had its French premiere on December 3, 1969. Despite playing a small part, a college student with no spoken lines, she was able to experience the pressure of a set and a director. Although it began quietly, it was nevertheless a start. In 1970, she was cast opposite Raquel Welch's Marianne in Myra Breenage, Music, which was her first speaking role. Based on Gore Vidal's book, the film was highly controversial. It was an untidy set. The narrative was explicit. Later on, the movie's pandemonium overshadowed its artistic merits. In later years, Farrah would refer to it as Hollywood's sleaziest enterprise. Lee Major, her boyfriend at the time, forced her into it, and she felt it stuck to her skin in an unwelcome way. Despite the film's failure, it increased her notoriety. Even if the effort is painful, fame might rise. She played little parts in plays like Mayberry RFD and The Flying Nun between 1969 and 1970, but the audiences enjoyed her. However, a pattern continued to recur behind the camera. To emphasize her appearance above her acting, lines, music, were changed. She felt enclosed. She was diminished. Her hunger increased as a result of her frustration. In order to demonstrate that she was more than just a gorgeous face, she began to crave assignments with greater responsibility. Her private life was also accelerating. She met Lee Majors on an Italian movie set in 1968. Their romance took off and became a media sensation. Music, she became more well-known, but she also faced pressure. It has been alleged that Majors want for her to stop modeling and concentrate solely on him and their relationship. The control concealed beneath the charm was noted by friends. Farrah refused to fold. She continued to make songs. However, that strain created fissures that would eventually widen. Then, like a tidal wave, music came in 1976. Bruce McBroom took the red swimsuit poster that Farrah issued. It detonated. It is the best-selling music poster in U.S. history with over 12 million copies sold. More than 6 million copies were sold in the first year alone at one point. She became an overnight cultural icon as a result of the picture. However, she was uncomfortable as everyone else rejoiced. She detested being regarded as an object. To shift the focus back toward her mind rather than just her body, she struggled to incorporate more artistic elements into subsequent photo shoots, even using her own sculptures. She was successful in landing Jill Monroe on Charlie's Angels that same year. On September 22, 1976, the program debuted on ABC. By the end of the first season, roughly 59% of TV viewers were watching it. The entire nation is slanting toward a single screen. Nearly instantly, Farrah became a household name. Even the joke that her hair stole the performance was made. The days were harsh, though. The shoots took 18 hours to complete. Music. She was never alone with the media. She was paid only $5,000 per episode despite all of that, which was less than what was anticipated of someone with so much weight. The pressure increased till it broke. Farrah want better screenplays. Jill needed to feel deeper and smarter, according to her. Her voice wasn't as important to producers as her image. Majors at home became envious of her notoriety, and the altercations caused further stress. She made the decision to leave by the end of the first season. Music, thus she quit in 1977, having only appeared in 8 episodes. The action stunned Hollywood. She turned down a contract that would have paid her about $7 million. By offering her a raise to $10,000 per episode, the producers attempted to stop her. She still declined. She was thinking about a different calculation. That year, the earnings from her poster alone had exceeded her entire season's income by around $400,000. Instead of receiving the 2% she, Music, was receiving, she requested 10% of the merchandise proceeds. They objected. They then vigorously retaliated, suing for $13 million and demanding that she be placed on a blacklist. Loud and in public, the battle dragged on. So they made a settlement. She made 6 cameo appearances after her comeback, but the harm was real. Stars who questioned authority were despised by the industry. Years of being ignored were the price Farrah paid for her bravery. However, her stance made a difference. It demonstrated the value of performers standing up for their own image rights and how even the largest celebrity might be exploited. Her face was ubiquitous by the end of 1977. Board games, toys, lunchboxes, and more. All around her, millions of dollars were coming in. In 1976, shortly after her ascent on Charlie's Angels, Farrah Fawcett assumed Logan's position. However, something didn't feel right when she showed up as Jessica. The glitter she carried on TV was expected. However, what they observed felt wooden and empty. Music. The film's sci-fi gleam, sets, June 23, 1976 release date, music, and the way that Michael York and Jenny Otter advanced the plot made it appear enormous. Despite earning $25 million at the box office, reviewers continued to focus on Farrah. She was the weak point, they claimed. After quitting Angels, she had been thrust into the position with little time to prepare, and it was evident. She stumbled in front of everyone for the first time since becoming famous. Then there was the purported mystery of somebody killed her husband in 1978. It became a punchline instead. Critics criticized the film so harshly that one person remarked, the title should have been, which destroyed her career. The film earned only $11 million on a $4 million budget. Although Farrah and her husband Lee Major were on screen together, suspicions about their personal lives were created by the kiss moments. Music. Her rapidly increasing notoriety did not assist their already strained marriage. They had parted ways by 1979. The divorce was finalized in 1982. When the focus moves too quickly, the failure of the movie and the chaos at home demonstrated how easily fame can skew. Music. On 1979, Farrah took a risk on sunburn. She performed her own dangerous water stunts and portrayed a con artist in Acapulco, but the film did not succeed. Only $6.7 million was made from it, and the naked scenes attracted more criticism than interest. Later, she expressed regret for performing them. The picture was deemed sloppy by the critics, who also nominated her for Worst Actress. She had attempted to escape the picture of her angel, which is why it ached. Every decision she made, meanwhile, seemed to force her more into roles that were not a good fit for her. Kirk Douglas and Harvey Keitel accompanied Saturn III when she arrived in 1980. The issues, however, started well before the publication. Farrah was pushed toward explicit music scenes that she never felt comfortable doing on the tight set. After test audiences' negative reactions, one explicit scene with Keitel was removed. She was still burdened with the weight of being forced into it. RZZY received nods for the film, including one for performance, although it only brought in $6.5 million. It was a low period that demonstrated how poorly she was being treated by the pursuit of movie stardom. When the Cannonball Run occurred in 1981, everything briefly changed. Although the movie made $100 million at the box office, its success was accompanied by music anguish. Her stunt double Heidi Von Beltz, music, was involved in a collision during the June 1980 shoot, which was caused by a car with defective steering and no seatbelts. It left her quadriplegic. It made Farrah shudder. She avoided physical roles as a result of the injury, which affected her for years. She felt the price of Hollywood's hurry even in a hit. TYP casting had encircled her like a trap by the early 1980s. In search of a more serious position, she declined roles, including that of a Bond girl. She was losing her fame, agents whispered. In order to make ends meet by 1981, she began trying out for soap operas. She lost a lot of money on bad investments. She concealed her difficulties with a grin, but she was aware that she was at her lowest. Her battle to be recognized as more than a gorgeous face on a poster was agonizing since she had once been everywhere. The year 1984 was another turning point. She played Francine Hughes, a real lady who burned her violent husband alive in the burning bed. It was intense filming. In order to replicate her character's uneasiness, she practiced for 2 weeks, spent 30 minutes in a closet to experience the terror, and sat through lengthy trial sequences in hard-backed chairs. One take was used for the climactic scream, which silenced the music team. She wasn't just the woman from a swimsuit billboard, as fans discovered when the movie came out on October 8, 1984. She won a nomination for an Emmy. It seemed to be the moment she turned into a true dramatic performer. Later that year, she played a defense lawyer battling music, child abuse cases in The Guardian. Although NBC trimmed some of her best scenes to comply with broadcast regulations, her performance still had a raw edge. It annoyed her. There were just 6 episodes. Nevertheless, despite the changes, viewers could still feel the passion she delivered. It demonstrated how, while being pulled back by the system, she always attempted to go beyond. She had performed in Extremities, a violent Broadway drama, a year earlier in 1983. She portrayed a woman who flips her assailant around. Every night, she left the stage with real bruises from the intense bouts. Because the audience occasionally felt they needed to intervene, security personnel stood close to the platform. Following performances, she required treatment to work through her feelings. However, the role altered everything. She was praised for her bravery. People could see she was serious. She permanently broke her previous image at that point. She revisited the same narrative for the 1986 Extremities movie. They worked together to film scenes where the slaps and hits were authentic, with James Russo portraying her assailant. The majority of her lines were improvised after the previous director was fired. Her intuition, rather than the writing, provided about 70% of the dialogue. She was nominated for a Golden Globe and the film brought in $10 million. It sparked discussions about abuse against women, but it also demonstrated her ability to carry something weighty and sinister with genuine power. She went even farther in 1989 after making Little Sacrifices. In 1983, she portrayed Diane Diaz, a woman who shot her own kids. After researching news video and trial transcripts, Farrah created a portrayal so terrifying that it garnered her another Emmy nod. The morality of depicting actual criminals was a topic of discussion. Nobody questioned her ability, though. From the early days when critics referred to her as wooden, she demonstrated how far she had gone. It was she who now carried whole movies on her back. She started Good Sports with Ryan O'Neal in 1991, but things broke apart behind the scenes. O'Neal's drunkenness resulted in delays and rewrites. They only broadcast 17 episodes. In situations where he was unable to perform, Farrah frequently improvised to keep scenes, music, together. Everyone around her was amazed by her expertise, but the show ended after just 1 season. When all else faltered, she continued to move. In 1992, Ruby Cairo followed. In the role of a widow, she traveled from nation to nation in pursuit of her husband's hidden money. Despite having a $15 million budget, the movie only made $7.7 million and lost $9 million. The plot and her erratic accent were criticized by critics. The failure was profound. She took a break from acting for a while and focused entirely on sculpture, which she had secretly enjoyed for years. She shocked the art world with a solo exhibition of 19 bronze statues of naked men in 1997. Some pieces have markings like Farrah 7/9 etched into them and cost $300,000. Critics disagreed about the piece. She was compared to Rodin by some. Others dismissed it as a celebrity pastime. Nevertheless, collectors purchased them, and she persisted as if she were determined to be respected in a foreign land. She also starred alongside Robert Duvall in the rural Louisiana drama The Apostle in 1997. While she favored preparation, he enjoyed improvising scenes. Tension resulted. Reboots took a long time. She even experienced financial hardship as a result of her personal involvement in the film. Nevertheless, the movie received recognition for its sincerity. It also demonstrated the level of risk she was prepared to take on important responsibilities. She made a brief appearance as Robin Jones in Alim Seal in 1998. Fans loved her sly references to her angel's background, and her moments were witty and humorous. She decided not to stay for the entire season. She pursued deeper roles instead, such as the one in 2003's Hollywood Wives, Music. She preferred intricacy to coziness. Around this period, she made an appearance in the 2004 film The Cookout, playing an affluent socialite who storms into a cookout. Only $12 million was made out of a $16 million budget. On Rotten Tomatoes, critics gave Music a 5% rating. It was thought that Hollywood just didn't want to provide major jobs to older females. That weight was felt by Farrah. Nevertheless, she continued to move. She allowed cameras to follow her in Chasing Farrah in 2005. It included her art studio, the private moments that come with being famous, and her loneliness following her split from Ryan O'Neal. Although her honesty garnered notice, the ratings were low. Her flawless image was no longer a shield. She was making the individual visible to others. On July 28, 1973, Lee Major and Farrah Fawcett were married. And everything inside the hotel bar appeared to be a dream come true. She cherished Indian customs. As a result, the wedding was filled with vivid hues, music, and traditions that created an almost surreal atmosphere. The hall was crowded with celebrities and music. Flashes came from cameras. They started dating in 1968, Music, and continued to flourish throughout the early years, so everyone referred to them as Hollywood royalty. It seemed solid for a time, nearly flawless. However, by 1979, the cracks were too large to conceal. Farrah's ascent on Charlie's Angels conflicted with Lee's notoriety as the $6 million man. His envy became loud. He insisted on punctual dinners. On multiple occasions, he locked her out of their own house. Their disagreements drove them more apart, and their occupations kept them apart. The marriage dissolved in 1982. They had once, Music, looked like a relationship that would last forever, so fans could not believe it. Farrah entered a new storm following the divorce in 1979 after falling in love with Ryan O'Neal. For nearly 30 years, their romance flourished, faded, and then resurfaced. Although they had a strong affection for one another, they also frequently argued and their bond faltered. Their son Redmond's arrival in 1985 brought them back together. Music, despite this, Ryan's roaming reputation persisted. Farrah was ultimately struck by it in the most agonizing manner. On Valentine's Day 1997, she unexpectedly showed up at Ryan's house in Malibu and discovered him with a young actress called Leslie Stevenson. While Leslie hid beneath the covers, Ryan panicked so quickly that he attempted to pull on his pants but ended up placing both legs in one hole. After a brief period of composure, Farrah asked Leslie her name before exiting the music room. She then admitted that she was devastated but not shocked. They never got their relationship back on track. After learning that she had been underpaid for her Emmy-nominated performance in Small Sacrifices that same year, Farrah made the decision to speak up. She demonstrated in court that her own production company owed her more money when she sued them in 1997. Her winnings totaled $1.5 million. Due to the rarity of star lawsuits against their own employers over residuals, Hollywood was unsure of how to handle that. Some people publicly and others silently moved away from her. But because she stood up for herself, she was respected. It demonstrated to everyone that she would always put justice before comfort. In 1997, producer-director James R. attacked her during a brawl, putting her strength to the test once more. He allegedly banged her head against the floor. She had been hurt. He was detained and found guilty. In her court testimony, Farrah revealed how readily influential males may abuse their position to harm women. The case garnered national attention and sparked fresh discussions around how women are treated in the entertainment industry. And then there was Greg Lott, a silent figure in her life who shunned the world for music decades. He was the first person Farrah met at the University of Texas. They remained close for 30 years, largely in secret. He offered her emotional support system while she battled Ryan after they met in 1998. The depth of it was only discovered after her death. He received $100,000 in her estate, which validated all of his music claims. Fans who had previously only ever seen her in a glamorous light were taken aback. The reality revealed a more intimate and gentle music aspect of her heart. Rumors of drug addiction dogged her throughout the 1980s and 1990s, unsettling her inner life. Mostly because to Ryan's own history of substance misuse, people whispered. In 1982, Farrah went into secret treatment and dealt with her problems in a private manner. Music, she kept it a secret for years. Then, in an attempt to dispel the stigma associated with addiction, she discussed it in a Playboy interview in 1997. Many were taken aback by her candor, which also made her seem more relatable to her admirers. Her life changed once more in September 2006 when she received a stage 0 anal cancer diagnosis at the age of 59. The tumor was said to be strawberry-sized. At UCLA, she began chemotherapy and radiation therapy and declined music colostomy in order to preserve her quality of life. By the time she turned 60 on February 2, 2007, medical professionals declared her cancer-free. She rejoiced yet was apprehensive. She didn't want everyone to know just yet. In May 2007, the disease swiftly reappeared and migrated to her liver, music. Everyone was taken aback, even her physicians, as the recurrence occurred more quickly than they had anticipated. Then she made the decision to make her suffering visible. As she battled through therapy, she requested her friend Elena Stewart to document everything. Alana was reluctant at first, but Farrah insisted on being truthful. In 2009, the video became Farrah's tale, music, and over 9 million people saw it on NBC. The documentary documented her hospital stays, hair loss, insomnia, and the realities that many patients choose to conceal. The polished version that the world often sees is not what she wants people to see. In 2007, Farrah, still full of optimism, went to Germany to get experimental therapies at the University Clinic in Frankfurt, Germany. According to some, she underwent stem cell therapy, which is prohibited in the US. The treatments were unpleasant and divisive, but no one was able to confirm all the details, music. She had to deal with lengthy, uncertain days, criticism from American doctors, and linguistic obstacles. Many patients, however, were impressed by her bravery for daring to consider alternatives to the norm. She carried more than just sickness in her last months. Farrah requested to spend her final days in Cher's Malibu house near the sea, Cher disclosed in her 2025 biography. According to Cher, Ryan declined and informed her that if Farrah wanted the sea, she could stay at his house. It gave her story's last section a more nuanced dimension. Alana and Ryan remained with her until the very end. People began to question how much Farrah endured, even in her last moments, after Cher's statement. Her 2007 will initially excluded Ryan and left Redmond $4.5 million. The most of her inheritance passed to her father and son, but he later received $25,000 for art. Additionally, she donated $3.3 million to the Farrah Fawcett Foundation, which turned into music, her greatest legacy. The organization became a powerful force in cancer research, financing more than 100 projects worldwide and raising over $10 million by 2025. She continued to be involved until she was unable to talk. People's perceptions of celebrity generosity were altered by her advocacy for accessible healthcare and alternative research. Farrah passed away in Santa Monica's St. John's Health Center on June 25, 2009, at 9:28 a.m. Alana and Ryan stood next to her. On June 30th, her funeral was held at the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Angels. Beside Rodney Dangerfield, she was laid to rest at Westwood Village Memorial Park. To honor her, friends from her Charlie's Angel days arrived. She was mourned by admirers not only for her beauty but also for her bravery in sharing her suffering. Her influence continued to develop. By 2025, stars like Martina McBride attended her foundation's Tex-Mex Fiesta Gala, which raised a record amount of money. In the same year, she returned with her signature feathery haircut. After Cher's biography brought her style back into the spotlight, salons reported a 40% increase in requests for the Farrah flip. On the red carpet, young celebrities imitated the style, which stylists modified with softer layers and heat-protective sprays to suit contemporary living. Her previous blueprint was even used by the Charlie's Angels franchise. She served as a model for strong, self-reliant, and connected female leads in the 2000 and 2019 reboots. Cher disclosed in 2025 that Farrah had envisioned another reboot prior to her passing. Fans rewatched past interviews and behind-the-scenes videos, recalling how she influenced the franchise's overall vibe. Redmond, meanwhile, had his own challenges. He's had a history of arrests related to addiction since 2008. In the hopes that it might shield him, Farrah will put his $4.5 million in a trust that paid interest only on medical bills. Nevertheless, his problems also became a part of her legacy. A warning that tranquility cannot be ensured by financial stability or even by intense love. Pictures of Farrah and Ryan's shared grave location went viral in November 2025. At Westwood, they sleep side by side while admirers continue to stop by and leave messages and flowers. People who had no idea how skilled Farrah's hands were shocked when her sculptures sold at auction for up to $500,000 around the same time. When Cher's memoir was published on November 19, 2025, her narrative gained additional attention. The scene in the novel where Ryan turned down Farrah's last yearning for the ocean was recounted. Her name was preserved in new ways as people posted old pictures, shared videos, and engaged in online debates. Her life ended up serving as a reminder of the intertwined themes of love, suffering, courage, and celebrity.